Now, when I tell you not to be a little bit worried, there's possibly a clear result for what's happening right now in the markets. I'm going to go over that real quick. I want to get this video up before the weekend starts because I am celebrating my 21st tomorrow, May 24th. Friday, I will be turning 21 years old, and I do plan on being around in the markets maybe for a little bit in the early morning, but after that, I am going upstate to New Hampshire. I'm from Long Island, for those of you who don't know. I'm going to New Hampshire, picking up my new car. Decided to get myself a little birthday present, and I'm going to be busy up there with family for the long weekend. Quick reminder: the markets are closed Monday for Memorial Day. I wanted to go over this and get this video out because I didn't get one up prior to this week due to a weird connection issue, and then everything's just been busy with the markets. It's been all over the place. I figured I could just squeeze everything in chat, but I wanted to get a visual up for those. And please, I say this every single week, if you look at my chart and want to throw up, yes, I understand, it's absolutely disgusting. You don't want to look at this, and I, I say it every time that it really helps. Like, this chart really helps for that intraday trading as all these price levels carry over. So it keeps me organized on the intraday. As far as the weekly and the higher time frames, yes, it could be a bit of a mess, but in the end, it is worth it overall. Now, I have the weekly chart pulled up, and currently where we are sitting, remember, I've been saying this for quite some time. We had that drastically overextended MACD. We now are pulling back into the zero neutral territory. Now, two things I want to focus on. Our 13 EMA, we are below currently on the weekly, but we are still above our midpoint on the Bollinger Bands. Now, if we can consolidate around this area, above this mid Bollinger Band, and then even out on the MACD, we might be able to build some sort of nice healthy pullback here. Now, that's not to say that we can't roll over and then come back and test these lows. That is certainly possible. But what I want to focus on is that previous multi-top that we had at about the 279.81. And if you were in chat this past week, that has been our bottom destination. And once I go over to the daily chart, I'll show you where that is. But we have that triple top at 279.81. And keep in mind, we are below our 13 EMA and still above our mid Bollinger Band. So we have a little bit of patience to be, focusing in on. Now I'll hop over to the daily chart, and we have that triple top again here uh, at 281.27 and then at 279.81. So we're gonna focus in on closer, more or less on the short term. Recently, our volume has drastically increased recently, more on the downside than the upside. As you can see, on any of our green days, we really haven't had any volume towards the upside. And our 13 EMA has consistently rejected, holding this downtrend. And obviously, we had that nice gap down today. So what I wanted to focus on here, this is where I said I think a possible rejection and test of these lows at 279.81 were definitely possible. This was the trading session where I said that the bulls needed to have a gap up. We kind of closed above that 13 EMA but didn't do much with it. It was a little shaky. We rejected our upside resistance of 289.11. I mentioned that we needed to gap above this 287.52 and sort of build a bottom here and work our way higher. The bulls failed to do that, and the bears really have taken advantage since. They've kept the bulls below the 13 EMA and have flattened out the MACD and are now looking to add more downside pressure. So what we want to focus on going into the end of this week are how we test this bottom at 279.81. Now, this is that triple top, and it's also a low in one of our most recent lows. I remember Gavin saying in the chat, possible double bottom. Yes, it is certainly possible, but I think we need more information first. It's going to be tough because everything that has been going on politically is taking over full control of this market. There is a lot of turmoil right now. A lot of companies are coming out and saying that their forecasts are being lowered, their future guidance is being lowered, and they're having a tough time. Yes, inflation numbers are expected to be increased. There's a lot of political pressure, which also then adds to the economic pressure. So we're literally sitting here focusing on what this does at a day-by-day basis and just playing it as it is, on that daily basis. So there really isn't much of a game plan for us right now, um, other than trading our levels and focusing in on where the candles close to end the day. So what's going to be interesting is how this market adapts to this low. That's my main, long-term focus here. So if this breaks, we obviously have a wider trading range. As you can see, our next destination isn't until 277.20. That's a pretty drastic drop, about 2.5 points. There's a lot of room still on the downside, and that's something to keep in mind. What I also wanted to go over was that setup on ARQL. This was a beautiful trade and a beautiful setup that we had this week during, market volatility. I mentioned in the chat where I like trading smaller caps when there's a lot of indecision in the overall markets, as these kind of stocks, they don't necessarily follow the overall market, excuse me. So I mentioned it after this big green day. I picked it up on the scanner. I was watching this tight, pattern getting set up and everything. And we had a nice volume spike here, just a pure technical play. You can see we had that tight range. And I also want to have you guys look at these trading candles back from July. This range up here, which was touched and affected twice, and then later affected, recently. But as you can see, we have that confirmed breakout of this little multi-day range. This big candle here. We have that confirmation from the volume. 5 million shares traded that day, and we broke out of that top range, which was held at 668. Now, remember, I mentioned that as my main support. Previous resistance becomes new support when broken. We had that perfectly these past 2 days, these 2 days here. I believe it was Friday and then Monday. Yeah, 517 and 520. So these 2 days were days where we could have loaded up. Now, me being a dumbass, I loaded up a little here and held over the weekend. I held 100 shares. I stopped out of that 100 here as we broke below. I was just impatient. The market was all over the place, and it just stopped me out. We broke down and touched the lows of 656. So I was thinking, this is going to continue lower. Our MACD was like, not necessarily red or oversold. So I was thinking there was definitely some more room to the downside. I stopped out of that 100 shares. I actually loaded up more shares, another 100 lot here, when we reclaimed that support and swung it. Now, Friday, what we did was finished right below our 13 EMA. As you can see, we're getting super tight in this range. Our Bollinger Bands are constricted, and we had that gap up on Monday. Monday, that was all we necessarily needed to continue higher. We broke out of that 13 EMA, had that nice uptrend, and we've been trending up for the past 3 days since, despite the overall market being in a complete disaster right now. And by disaster, I mean all over the place, no common trend, and just a headache. It's an overall headache for anything more than a scalp. So when these setups display themselves, we have to really focus in on attacking them and mastering the art of technical trading. And I try to aspire that with everybody I come in contact with, because it is a very huge part of this game. And obviously fundamentals don't necessarily need to be in play here, as these small caps are affected more or less by retail traders such as you and I. So that was a quick little video. I mean, 9 minutes. It's actually on the longer side, but I had a little bit of talking to do. We had a busy week, and I definitely wanted to get a recap of this trade setup on board. But I hope you guys enjoy your long weekend. Remember, we are off Mondays, so take it easy. Spend some time, have a nice cold beer, do whatever you're gonna do, and take it easy.